Post-Hypnotic Press presents Kill the Messengers, Stephen Harper's Assault on Your Right to Know, by Mark Bourrie, narrated by David Skulski.
In a city that has no watchdogs, the fox is the overseer. Sumerian proverb. Chapter 1. Democracy, Messengers, and the Harper Revolution. We campaigned on this new Canadian reality, not on a dream or a fantasy or a slogan, but on the reality of this great country rising, a country founded on great principles, a courageous warrior, a compassionate neighbor, a confident partner, and under a strong, stable national majority conservative government, the best country in the world. Stephen Harper, 2011. The King of England stood on a balcony in Westminster, just outside the city of London, and braced himself against the cold. It was a raw January day in 1649. The crowd was noisy, and only a few people could hear him. But there was a man near the king who was writing everything down. Within a few hours the king's speech was on the streets in the primitive newspapers of the time. It was not the sort of rant that Justin Trudeau or even Stephen Harper would come up with, and it certainly was not the work of a Barack Obama. King Charles I wasn't running for anything. In fact, his career was quickly winding down. The words he spoke were his own, not those of a speechwriter. They're sort of dense and Shakespearean, but after you read them once or twice, you'll get the drift. And truly I desire the people's liberty and freedom as much as anybody whomsoever, but I must tell you that their liberty and freedom consists in having of government those laws by which their life and their goods may be most their own. It is not for having a share in government that is pertaining to them, the king said. A subject and a sovereign are clean, different things, and therefore until you do put the people in that liberty, as I say, certainly they will never enjoy themselves. He finished up, turned, knelt down, prayed for a moment, and a chap named Brandon took one swing of an axe and chopped off his head. Few politicians are as upfront in their contempt of democracy, and fewer still have the opportunity to speak with the honesty that's available to a sentient person who knows he won't have to worry about that evening's dinner because he'll be shorter by a head. But Charles I was a man of his times, and of our times too, trashing the press, proroguing Parliament, getting very heavy with people who disagreed. Few modern politicians will come out and say the people really have no business being involved in government. A few more will echo the king's assertion that governments exist only to protect people's property and keep taxes down. But not that many are willing to stick their necks that far out to make a point. Just over 200 years later, the Americans fought their own Civil War. This one was about crushing secessionist states that had broken up the country because they believed their slave economy was in jeopardy. But this war was, in fact, about something else, about the thing that lies in the heart of Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, the speech he made at the dedication of the cemetery for the men killed in the decisive battle of the Civil War. Everyone's heard of that short speech. It wasn't much longer than poor Charles' last words, but few people have read it carefully. The address starts with a little history lesson and a very slight sideswipe at the slavery issue. Then it gets down to business. The blood of the Union troops at Gettysburg was spilled so that government of the people, by the people, for the people, should not perish from this earth. People reading the speech always put the emphasis on the of, by, for words. But the real meat of the phrase is in the last 6 words. In 1863, the United States was the most revolutionary country on earth. It was the only major power that was anything resembling a real democracy, and it seemed likely to be the last one, an experiment that failed. France had thrice tried to create a democracy between 1789 and 1863, and their revolutions went badly. One ended up bathed in blood. All were undermined by public revulsion and ended with a return to monarchy. Britain was emerging as a democratic state,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?